Hi, I'm Kaylin.
And I'm Brooklyn, and this is Death Row Dialogue.
I want to start by saying we really tried to give y'all a Christmas episode. We really tried. I was over here for, 2 hours?
Yeah.
Trying to record. I want to say that we recorded it 3 different times, and there was just technical difficulties. It was, ridiculous. And by the 3rd time, and, we couldn't get the videos, lined up and everything, I was like, I'm done. It's not meant to happen.
And it was awful, too, because I happened to have, company, but we thought we'd get done in time, but we had to keep redoing it so many times. By the time we hit the 3rd time, people were over here. So it made it even harder because, obviously, I don't have a big house.
Yeah.
So it was just awful.
Yeah, so I just want to say it was not for lack of trying. We did try. So, we're going to, with full transparency, Brooklyn has heard this crime.
And I will say, usually this has never happened this many times ever. I think there's only been one other time that we had to do one episode.
Mm-hmm.
So usually my reactions are pretty spot on. But this time, I'm going to be real with you. I wouldn't be able to fake it for y'all.
There's no faking it.
I'd be like, wow. This is my 4th time hearing it. So with that being said, we're just going to kind of tell the story. And we'll just give some feedback as we tell it.
Well, and it's funny because, me and Brooklyn were talking, we're like, you know what, we're just going to have to, say that I know the crime. I'm just going to have to tell him. And then we were trying to think, we're like, wait, what was the crime? And then she's like, maybe we don't have to do it because neither of us remember. But then after I said what it was, she was like, okay, now I remember all of it.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So, okay, well then, are you ready for the 4th time to your...
I am very ready, yes.
Okay. So, number 53 is Jeffery Griffin. And I want to just say, I feel like there is a lot of people, this is pure speculation on my part. I don't know the statistics or anything. But I think there's a lot of people that are on death row that their names start with J. I just feel like it's a trend. It just seems like there's always a lot. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe it's just because I've done this case now 4 times that it feels like it's a lot. But now that I said it, y'all are going to remember every single time we have a J name.
After this, we should definitely, at the end of this episode, we'll go through and see how many J's.
The J's that we've done?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's a lot. But, anyways, it's Jeffery Griffin. He was born in 1955 in Houston. He was raised in a family with several other children. It didn't say how many. It was very vague, past life of him. And that it did show that he showed signs of mental illness since he was 5 years old. It never said what the mental illness was. But I'm assuming if you're displaying signs of it at 5 years old, then it's something that's pretty, prevalent. It's not like schizophrenia, because schizophrenia hits men, later in life.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not depression, I would hope, not in a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
But maybe it's,
bipolar,
or maybe it's, the...
multiple personality disorder.
What's that one that's, oppositional defiance disorder? Have you heard of that?
Never in my life.
It's, where you just defy authority no matter what. They could tell you something that, you want to do, but you just won't do it.
I have never heard of that.
Yeah, and, I think that it can be diagnosed pretty young because it's, they will fight you on anything. Everything's a fight no matter what you say. And so maybe it's something like that. But it was bad enough that when he turned 11, he was being repeatedly interned in state hospitals. And from what I understand, he was in a state... mental health facility from 11 to age 23.
Okay.
And what I'm assuming is that since he got out at 23, it was hey, I want to go. Because I'm pretty sure after 18, they can't keep you in there. It might be different since this was 1978, but that's my assumption. He was released under clinical supervision, so meaning that he is supposed to go to his, therapist or psychiatrist or whoever he's supposed to check in with them, constantly to make sure that supervision is there. But he was allowed to return to his home in Houston where he found work as a male fashion model. first person we've seen that had that kind of profession.
And she told me he was ugly. Okay, that's
Okay.
a nice word. That's tacky. That's tacky. No one's ugly.
I didn't think he was...
You would expect... I feel like whenever you hear the words male model, though, you expect, like, Mark Wahlberg, like in Calvin Klein.
No, you think that.
I do think that. But you do think someone, like, really attractive, or, like, young Johnny Depp.
Yeah, they're going to have, like, a cut jawline and, like...
all the abs just leaning over like
and
this.
he just looked like a normal guy. Like, I wouldn't say ugly, but I wouldn't say, like... I wouldn't, like, see him in a room and be like, oh, my God. Like, I gotta talk to him, you know?
Okay.
Neighbors said that he spent his time playing basketball in Moody Park and was not known to be violent. That's just the observation around the neighborhood. But, to be fair, he got out of the state hospital in the summer of 1978, and the crime happened March of 1979. So it's like, how long were you actually around him? Like 6 months? Like 6 months is not a long enough time to accurately evaluate somebody just by being around them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, do you know how violent your neighbors are in 6 months? You know?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, kind of that thing. So it's like, you can say that, but like you didn't really know him. So on July 23rd of 1978, so presumably not that long after he got out of the mental institute, because that's in July and it just said the summer, the partially nude body of 20-year-old waitress named Sylvia Mendoza was found dumped into a trash bin. After the autopsy, it was determined she had been stabbed a total of 49 times. Multiple people were questioned, including Griffin. When Griffin was questioned, he claimed that he saw someone abduct her but was unable to identify the perpetrator. Since there was no evidence, he was released. Multiple things wrong with that story. First off, it's convenient that you don't happen to report that you saw someone get abducted until they ask you.
Yeah, but it makes me wonder, now that we're talking about this many times, it makes me wonder because he was like so mentally unstable. Like, I wonder if you could tell just by, well, we don't know what's wrong with him.
Yeah.
So, but it makes me wonder if, like, but you have to think, being raised in like a mental facility like your whole life, like you have to be a little quirky. Well, like maybe they really just were like, okay, maybe this guy's just weird, you know?
Well,
because
I thought the opposite thing when you were saying that, like, if you are in a state facility from 11 to 23, you probably know how to fake being normal. Or, like, not normal, but, like, fake being well. You know? Like, you see people coming and going, like, okay, so this person did this.
To get out.
Like, maybe that is, maybe not.
Yeah.
Just, we don't have enough to, like, say accurately.
And we also don't know if they released him or if he signed himself out.
Yeah.
That's what we talked about last time, too. Without you guys. We talked about, we don't know if he was ever, like, just released. Because maybe he could have just faked it, or maybe he just got old one day, like older, and was just like, I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah, I've learned. And, like, some people do have I heard someone recently talking about how they were in therapy for, like 10 years or something. And they're like, well, once you're in therapy for that long, you don't need to go anymore. You know what they're going to say about your actions. You know, like, whatever you go to them about, you know what their response is going to be. Yeah. So why would I go anymore? So maybe it was kind of that thing. Like, they knew what he was, like, he knew what they were going to say, but he just didn't want that feedback. Or, like, didn't care anymore.
That's true.
All speculation. Y'all pick whichever one you think and go with it. But regardless, he didn't... A regular person that sees someone get abducted is going to report it. You're not going to be like, oh yeah, I did see her. She was kidnapped. I just remembered.
That's true.
And you're like, well, what did he look like? He was a man. Like, that's not... the only reason you got off is there was no evidence.
Yeah.
Everything they had was circumstantial, that you were just there. And to be stabbed 49 times
is insane.
That's an insane amount.
That is so insane. That's what, oh yeah, and I'm surprised he didn't have any like I don't know what the correct terminology.
Like bruises or like
yes,
any...
I was about to say
ligature?
Ligature marks, but that's for like ropes and stuff.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I'm surprised because, like, stabbing someone 49 times, there had to have been something, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just like the people that they talk to, like, my first thing being a cop, which I am not, but my first thing would be, like, look at the hands if someone got stabbed that many times. Because even if you're a man, I mean, that's a lot of force you have to...
Well, and that's what I'm thinking is, like, you're...
And you had to have at least hit a bone one time.
Hard. Like, you're going to get sore.
Yeah.
Have you ever done, like, one of those, like, Zumba videos where you're, like, punching in the air?
Yes.
Like,
we've done it together. We did, like, the little videos all the time at the gym.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so you know.
Yeah.
It's, like, but way before 49. Your arm's hurting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, like, was this just, like, rage that was pent up? Like, what's fueling him, you know? So he was let go. Now, jump forward to Monday, March 12th, 1979. Around midnight, Griffin told one of his friends, Frank Chapa, and Frank Chapa worked at this convenience store. Griffin told Frank, hey, the convenience store you work at, the manager, Daniel Sobotek, he got kidnapped. And Frank's like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, I saw Daniel, who is 19. I saw him and Horatio DeLeon. And Horatio is a 7-year-old part-time employee errand boy of the convenience, which we'll get to in a second. We're not skipping past that. But he said that he saw Daniel and Horatio leaving with 2 men. And when he was talking to... Griffin said that he tried to speak to Daniel, but the men hit Daniel and then fired shots at Griffin, drove away in Daniel's car with Daniel and Horatio inside. So this is now the second abduction you've seen in, like, not even a year. So pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
And then, so Horatio, it was pretty conflicting things of, I don't know if other, like, news outlets were confused as well. But some of them said that he was just a 7-year employee, like he'd been with the store for 7 years. But the actual court documents said that it was a 7-year-old that was a part-time employee and, like, ran errands for Daniel. And so I'm assuming he was just hanging out with Daniel at the convenience store.
Yeah.
When everything went down. So the next day, on March 13th, Daniel and Horatio's bodies were found in Daniel's car on a deserted street. The same day, Griffin went to the police station to give the statement that he told Frank. So I'm guessing that Frank was like, dude, if you saw that, like, you need to go tell somebody. Or if it was like the bodies appeared and then Frank told the police what Griffin had told him, and then Griffin was like, oh, like, I guess I gotta go tell them. So he went in and tried to tell them the same story, the abduction story. And they were like, okay, well, just take a polygraph for us. And he agreed for whatever reason. I don't know if they made him do it or if he just agreed. But the test indicated deception. So he was arrested at 1:15 p.m. and taken before the magistrate, who gave him read him his rights. And then Griffin never requested an attorney. And they told him multiple times, like, these are your rights. Do you want an attorney? And he was like, no, I don't. So Detective Kent went in to interrogate him. After a few moments of talking to Griffin, he confessed to killing Daniel. He said that he went into the convenience store, which was named One Stop Drive-In, and that Daniel was working at around 9:45 p.m. When he got there, Daniel had apparently was going to buy a watch off of Griffin. Or, like, Griffin probably was like, hey, I know a buddy that has this watch. Like, are you interested in it? Something like that. So Daniel had given Griffin money for the watch, but Daniel never got the watch. So Griffin came into the store, and Daniel was like, hey, I want my money back. Like, I never got the watch, so just give me my money. And they got into an altercation about it, and Griffin left the store and said that he was going to wait for Daniel to finish working. When Daniel was ready to leave, Griffin, and Horatio got in Daniel's car and started driving towards Griffin's house. Now, mind you, this is Griffin's side of the story.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if he actually willingly got in the car with, or maybe Griffin was like, oh, that money's at my house. So, like, if y'all want to just go with me to my house, then we can go get the money. Maybe. According to Griffin, during the ride, quote, something strange started happening, and I pulled my knife and started stabbing Daniel. Griffin then started stabbing Horatio. Griffin left the car screaming and went back to the store where he frightened customers away by shooting at them with a pistol. So,
I forgot about that part.
Yeah. So, after the confession, Griffin took the officers to the place where he had discarded the knife that he used. So now they have evidence against him with his confession. What actually happened was Griffin went to the store with the intention of robbing it. Daniel and Horatio were inside, and after ransacking the store and stealing $175, he forced the pair to enter Daniel's car and drove several blocks away. When they reached an isolated spot, Griffin began stabbing both of them, focusing on the heart region. He later claimed that he said sorry each time he stabbed Horatio. Later that day, Griffin gave another statement to Detective Kent regarding the death of Sylvia Mendoza in July of 1978. So he said that he met her near a nightclub when she asked him for directions, and he told her, like, well, you shouldn't really walk alone, and he was offering to help her out in some way. He doesn't say if he was offering to drive her or anything, just offered her assistance, and she started kissing him, and then Sylvia then climbed into the dumpster and removed all her clothes, and while she and Griffin were having sex, Griffin started stabbing her, quote, a lot of times. Yeah.
That story we talked about the last time is very unlikely. I don't care how in the mood you are. I don't know this girl, but I just feel like you would not get naked and then go into a dumpster. Very unlikely story.
Well, and it's just very it's his point of view.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, so, even if she's extremely drunk, like, I doubt she wanted to have sex with you in a dumpster.
Yeah.
Of anything, you know? So it's like we will never truly know if he, like, raped her or what exactly happened, because all we have is his word, which is really aggravating.
It's unfortunate, very much. I really wish they kept better records of these older ones. Like, I'm glad, because some of the ones that we do, like, have, like, literally zero information. It's just like, here's the crime, here's the time they spent, and they're dead.
Yeah.
But that's just really upsetting. And it's crazy to me how he got away with the first one. Just, you know. But, like, that's why I wish there was more information, because I don't know, like, maybe he was kind of convincing, like you said. I didn't even think about that. Maybe he was just a good talker. That's how a lot of killers get away with it.
Well, and that's how I feel like, I know some people that have, like, bipolar disorder, and they are good at faking it for a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of programs that, like, inpatient programs that you do, they are, like, they're very lengthy. It's not like a 2-week program. It's like a 12-week program or a 6-month program, because you can't fake it for that long.
Yeah.
So, you know, the person that I know, she's able to fake it really good.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I wouldn't even be able to tell. And I'm like, well, she's showing you what you want to see.
Yeah.
What she needs you to see to fit her narrative.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that he was very good at that as well. But it's interesting to me that he got away with the first crime and then backpedaled so bad that he didn't get away with the second one.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
well, it's probably because that time he was like, well, I just did it, and they just believed what I said.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm sure, like I said, if you come up with a second abduction story,
mm-hmm.
you know, how many people can you say got abducted?
Mm-hmm. He's like, man, this worked so good the first time.
Yeah, he's like, y'all would not believe. It was the same person. I have no idea what they look like.
You would not believe the year I've had.
you know, have you seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
No.
Okay, well, there's a line and he's like, it's been a doozy of a day, officer. And I was just like, you think I'm some kind of moron? Like, you should watch it. It's really funny. It's really funny. It's like one of those, like, horror comedy films. It's like a slasher
like
film.
Shaun of the Dead and stuff.
Oh, I haven't seen that. But
wow. I trust nothing she says.
It's a slasher comedy film. It, like, the premise is these college kids think that these two men are, like, hillbillies that are trying to kill them. So the college kids are trying to kill the hillbillies so they don't get killed, but then they keep accidentally killing themselves.
What the heck?
Yeah. It's really good. Anyways, back to this. So the next day, Griffin altered his confession to make it clear that he took the pistol from the store before he left with Daniel and Horatio. Don't know why he wanted to clear that up, but he did. So Griffin was only charged with Daniel's murder. Not Horatio's, not with Sylvia's, just Daniel's.
And that breaks my heart. And we talked about it last time because they could technically get him on, like, in case it falls through, they'd have the other people. But it's weird to me that they didn't. But I guess it's kind of a waste of taxpayers' money, too. But it's not a waste for, like, the victims' families. Does that make sense to go, like, even though he got charged with the death penalty on this one, because they're on death row dog. I know you haven't said that yet, but obviously he's going to get death penalty. It's weird to me that they still didn't, like, add on the charges while he was in prison. Because we've had other people that have been in prison
and then got the death penalty again.
Yeah, and or have even like been on trial for like them finding out later on like they did kill this person. Mm-hmm. So it's weird to me that they didn't at least add them on somehow.
Well, and it's like, yes, we know that Griffin killed Horatio and Sylvia, but it's like you don't get that like closure, that like satisfaction of like everyone knowing like he was guilty for doing this too.
Yeah, imagine that family too. You know what I'm saying? If my 7-year-old got murdered, I would like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, the killer that is there is on death row and stuff. But that's like, for me, I would want like his name shared. Like he wasn't just some little 7-year-old. Like that was my kid.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Well, and like, so she's referencing the conversation we had last time where we were talking about Daniel was probably the easiest to prosecute as a death row crime because we have that he burglarized the convenience store and then shortly after killed Daniel. So that makes it eligible for the death penalty.
Yeah.
Now, if that falls through, we have Horatio who's under 10, so it would be a capital crime no matter what.
Yeah.
Now, in Sylvia's case, I don't think they had enough to try him. Like, they have his confession, but that's all they had. They had nothing to back up his confession. They don't have a murder weapon. They don't have, anything else.
And they couldn't technically prove if she was raped and killed.
Yeah. So that wouldn't be death row because...
how many people do you have to kill to be known as a serial killer?
3.
So, like, could that not get him for death row? I can't remember if that was part of it.
I don't remember if it said anything about multiple murders putting you on death row. I thought it was just the multiple a felony in the like a felony connected with a murder, and then being under 10.
Yeah.
And then killing like
a
peace officer.
Yeah.
But I don't remember if it was like there was one for multiple murders.
Well, if it's not a thing, it should definitely be a thing for something.
Look that up.
Okay.
I don't mean right now. I mean next episode.
Did you see me look at my phone? I was like what?
No. Okay, so but they never actually said why they only charged him for Daniel, so it's unclear why. So we're also once again there's a lot of speculation in this episode. Maybe I should name this episode speculation.
It's weird to me that like. I feel like there's only so many, like, death row cases in Texas. Like, I know technically compared to everyone else we have a lot, but it's weird to me that the person that keeps the records, like, whoever's in charge of that, respectfully, doesn't do a better job of, like, getting the info. I'm sure the newer ones now, it's so much easier.
Well, and, like, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm, like, kind of scared to get to the new stuff. Because there's just going to be so much that I'm going to have to try to, like, weed through. Hopefully, we're rich and famous by then, and I can pay someone else to do it. Because I'm scared. Like, there was one time I was looking into, like, how we do out-of-state episodes. It's, like, a little bonus episode. Whenever me and Luke were first started to, try to do an extra episode a week, we were looking at doing, like, maybe people that are on death row currently, or, like, recent crimes that a lot of people know about to try to, like, dive deeper and make sure everyone's aware of everything that happened in them. And I looked up one, and there was so much. Like, so much. And it was the woman that she killed her friend that was pregnant to take her baby. Sorry.
I've heard that, so...
But it was in Texas, and it wasn't, I want to say it was, like, maybe 2 years ago? A year and a half ago? And, like, I remember looking into it, and it was crazy, because there was just so much to look through, and it was very overwhelming. Like, it would be something to, once we get there, might not be able to have an episode every week, because it's going to take me longer than a week to go through all of the information. So it's, like, a blessing and a curse that there's not a ton on each one. Like, honestly, the best is when there's, like, a Wikipedia page that I can, like, go through, and then I can go to other, like, sources and, like, solidify the facts that I'm getting off of Wikipedia. But, like, that's the easiest, is when there's a Wikipedia page that's, like, laid out nicely for me.
Okay.
But once we get to the recent ones, you know, there might be a Wikipedia page on that person by that point. So, Griffin was found guilty, and his first execution date was scheduled for June 14th, 1984. A few stays were filed just for different reasons. One of them was that he deserved leniency because he admitted to his crimes. So he shouldn't be put to death because he admitted what he did was wrong and that he did it. Which I think is ridiculous. Just because you admit something doesn't mean that... You know what I mean?
No, I don't think that you should be able to get leniency on a crime just because you commit it. Do you know how many crime cases I've watched where the person admits to it? It isn't... The crime was still done, and it wasn't like it was like this little crime. I mean, he killed 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he took 3 people away from their families. You know, and what if... I don't know, that's why I always use myself, like, because that's what I used to try to do, because sometimes I'd be like, oh, I don't know. And then sometimes I'm like, yeah, you say that, but you're not someone that's close to them.
Yeah.
So, like, I can't speak for everybody, but I can tell you what I would do. I would be really upset if someone was like, well, he's not that bad if he could admit to it. It's like, no. And he also could just be loony. Again, we don't know his mental case. Like, he could just be like, I did it.
Well, and that just seemed like an insane reason to ask for leniency to me.
Yeah.
It's like, good job. You know that you murdered somebody.
Yeah.
And you told us.
And even then, you were really vague about it. And
you lied. You lied.
Yeah, you literally...
You didn't tell the truth at the beginning. So what do you mean? Why should we be nicer to you? Yeah. You only told us when we caught you lying.
Yeah.
So what do you mean?
Well, I'm also not only that. It looks like you're about to cry.
Oh, no.
But my biggest thing was like the part too where he's like telling the stories though. They're so like it's almost like he's trying to make himself not look as bad in it, because he's like, oh well, this girl kissed me and I don't know, came over me and then I just started stabbing her a lot because she got naked and
it's like you.
And then this other guy, like, I don't know what happened to me. I just started stabbing him.
So it's like you're saying what happened, but you're also not taking full responsibility of it.
Mm-mm.
Because you're saying, like, my hand just did it.
Yeah.
Like,
mm-hmm.
It's like when, it just seems like it's when people are like, well, so-and-so told me to do it.
It's like the guy that broke into the guy's house and then got mad at him for defending himself.
Yeah.
And then was like, well, it was his fault. It's like...
He charged at me. It was self-defense. There's no self-defense when you're in someone else's house.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
He spent his last hours laughing with the prison chaplain. His family was not present, but he said bye to his aunt, mom, and his fiancée, Regina, who was in England. I'm sure it was one of those...
that was a yawn and a open mouth. Did you see that?
Yeah. I'm sure it was one of those, like, write a prisoner type things. His last words were, I'm going to be free. You're a good warden. I'll see you. I'm ready. On November 19th, 1992, when Griffin was 37, he was executed. He was ejected from this life. He was executed. An event that Daniel's family celebrated. And that is inmate number 53, Jeffery Griffin.
That was wild.
So it's like, it is kind of a robbery case. but like not as focused on the robbery part.
Yeah, it really wasn't focused that much on. Well, the first crime wasn't.
Yeah, no.
Totally different.
Well, and like maybe he stole from her. You know, it's just like they didn't really know anything, so they weren't really able to do any justice for her, and like
they can only go based off his word too,
well,
and just try to connect the dots.
Well, and it is nice in a way that like he said something about, because it probably never would have been solved. That family, like her family, never would have got any closure if he didn't say anything about it. So it's like it's nice in that regard, but you don't deserve to not get the death penalty because of it, you know. But I will say, next episode is good. Good in the way that there is information from it, and it's something that we haven't done before.
Ooh, okay.
So, and I like when I am able to, like, find a different way to do the episode. So, like, you know, I follow, like, a format every time. Like, we do, like, a little bit about them, we do the crime, and then we do the after, and they're able to discuss it. But this one is more of like a story, and so I think it'll be an interesting.
I'm excited. We can't slip up. Don't tell me anything.
Okay.
That's gonna be a good one.
Do you have facts?
I do. Forgot the piece of paper, but again,
I knew it. I was looking. I was like, I don't see your paper.
But no, I'm pretty good at remembering them. First off, this one I didn't know if I should even bring up, because I think you and Luke did an episode about like the what types of death penalties they still do, like whenever it comes to like gas, lethal injection.
I don't think we've never done anything like specifically talking about it.
Okay.
But whenever we do the out of states, you know, sometimes it comes up because like they have got options before, or like things like that. But we've never actually talked about what states do what nowadays.
Okay, well, I did not know that hanging is still legal in 2 states in the U.S.
Which states?
Washington and New Hampshire. But they have not done one since 1996. But if you think about it, that's not that long ago.
Yeah, that's not that long ago.
Yeah, realistically, it's not that long ago. But it's still technically, they could do it. Like, it is a option.
So is it just like
penalty.
the criminal chooses, or?
You know, we've talked about that, I think me and you have in a past episode, or maybe it's been outside of the podcast, that I don't know if and maybe it depends on the crime. Like, what if one's just so heinous, the state's like, this is what you're going to get? Because I don't know. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, we talked about, I think we made, which is messed up, we made a joke about it. But, like, what are they going to do? Like, hand them a pamphlet and then, like, tell them, like, how it feels?
The pros and cons.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's kind of, personally, I would think it would be more up to the state. And maybe, I don't know. And I also don't know if it was, like, if they're public hangings or if
That's what I was just about to ask.
Yeah, I do not know, because whenever I tried to kind of go into it, I know some of them went back earlier on, and it was kind of like people could still be there, but I don't think it was, like, because they talked about other people being there, but it wasn't, like, on the street. Like, whenever you picture, like, hangings, you always think of, like
a town square almost.
Yeah, you think of like pilgrims huddle up all together. Like,
well, and that's just like crazy. Just imagine being in that time and like not knowing what's going on, and you go to the store for bread and you see a man get hung.
Yeah, and I don't think they would do that anymore anyways, even then, because you'd think children, you know. Like, they're probably.
Well, I'm sure it would be a private hanging, but I'm sure it's something that's just been like. It's not something that they would do again, but it's just something that they're like, it's not. We don't even need to bother outlawing it, because we're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know, so it might be like one of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I did get a fact. There was actually a woman that lived in Thailand, and she had like one of the longest sentences ever for longest female sentencing.
Okay.
Not male, female sentencing for. She apparently got, it was like 141,000 years. And it was because she like basically did like some type of scheme, and she committed fraud of some kind. And I guess the judge was pissed and sentenced her all these years. She only served 8 years though. She got out.
What?
So, yeah. It was like an insane amount she got out in 8 years. But I thought that was really interesting because it makes me mad because I'm like, dang, even the people with like these insane sentences. But to be fair, for like fraud, I mean, yeah, fraud's horrible. But a life sentence for fraud is like little insane. But it also depends on what kind of
fraud is bad. But like fraud is something that you go to
jail for.
To what is it? Camp Fed or whatever.
Yeah.
Like fraud's something you go to Camp Fed for.
Woo. Not something
that you go to the maximum security prison. You know what I mean?
It was Club Fed.
Like Club Fed, Camp Fed, whatever.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like it's a white collar crime.
Yeah. Ooh, another fact that I did here, and thank you, I love YouTube for all these things. I definitely use Google and YouTube.
I thought you said I thank you too, and I was like, what did I do for you?
Because I just get into these little, they're so good. There was, what was I just about to say? There's one about, they said that since the 80s, prison has doubled. Right? Like, the amount of inmates in prison have doubled. Well...
Since the 80s?
Since the 80s.
Well, it's because no one cared in the 80s. They just let the serial killers walk around.
Well, not only that. So, but 50% of almost all prisons are filled with non-violent drug-related crimes.
Drug-related crimes?
Mm-hmm. Non-violent or drug-related crimes. But, yeah, 50% of them. So instead of keeping like people that are like actually like
and like that's the most aggravating part is that like it's all against the law, whatever. You know, I do stand by that. If it's against the law, you shouldn't do it. And you should accept what you did was against the law. Whether you agree with the law or not.
Yeah.
That's not the point.
I mean, you're told what the laws are. If you break it, like
yeah.
You can't just go out there and do crack and then get caught doing crack and then like expect to slap on the wrist.
Well, and so that's kind of like my philosophy with everything was like if you're going to do something against the law, you have to respect that it's against the law. Whether you agree with the law or not, that's not up to debate. No one cares.
Yeah, it's like
but
people that don't want to dance. Sorry.
No, but
get me on the thing with that.
When they like have, you know, we've talked before about how they have like all this overcrowding. What makes me mad is that you're releasing the violent people over the people that have non-violent crimes. Mm-hmm. That's what is the aggravating part.
Yeah.
You know. Or that you're giving these non-violent crimes way longer sentences than you're giving the people that are doing aggravated assault or whatever it is. Like, that's the part that's frustrating. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, you can't deny that you did something against the law. So, but it's funny, you brought up the seatbelt. Like, you know you can get arrested for that, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I won't say who, but one of my husband's friends, like, refuses, and you know who you are, refuses to put on a seat, and it, like, literally drives me crazy. I'm gonna just put it on. But what are you talking about?
Well, it's crazy.
Just put it on.
Because I didn't know that. Like, I was like, oh, it's a ticketable offense. Like, no, you can get arrested.
I didn't get arrested for it.
Well, you can get arrested. But, you know, we're in Texas, so, like, if you're outside Texas, don't take my word on this, because I don't know your laws. But there's only 2 things that you cannot get arrested for in Texas that are only ticketable. And it's an open container.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And then I don't remember the other one.
You can't get arrested for that?
No. I don't know why.
That's weird.
But you can't. It's just a ticket. But I knew when I was working as a dispatcher, there was an officer. And, like, he wasn't a mean officer. But he was a petty officer. So, like, if you were going to be an asshole and you were going to make it difficult, then he's going to make your life difficult. And he pulled over this car, and the person was in the back seat, and, like, he wouldn't ID himself. And so, you know, he has his body cam on, and he's like, so, when I pulled up, it didn't look like you had a seatbelt on. Like, were you wearing your seatbelt? And he's like, no, I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. You know I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. Like, I don't care to wear a seatbelt. He goes, well, you just admitted it. Right here, buddy. So turn around. And he arrested him.
I've never understood people that just come out angry. Like, I get it if the cop's, like, maybe being a jerk to you, but I mean, I'm a pretty good, like, yes sir, no sir person in general, as is, but, like, people that just automatically come out angry, because I'll be watching Cops. I do, I watch Cops.
I do, I love Cops. I like watching Cops too, but there's never, like, new stuff. I feel like I'm watching the same cop videos over and over.
I think for a while, because of what was going on and stuff like that in the world, they quit doing cops for a while. But I think live PD is like the thing. I don't know if cops came back, and they may have. So don't quote me on that, but I know we have like live PD and stuff like that.
I don't remember who. I think I was talking. My grandpa was a sergeant, in the DFW area, and I think I was talking to him one time about cops, and he was like, "You know how long they have to ride with us, Kaylin, to get those shots?" I was like, "I don't know." He goes, "A long time, okay? That's not something that happens every day. It takes a long time for them to get those recordings, Kaylin." And I was like, "Calm down. You seem like you have very strong opinion about cops." But yeah, so just so you know, they ride with the officers for a long time to get that action. Yeah. I mean, like, when I was dispatching, like, there's some nights that are busy. And, like, you're just going to, like, hot calls. But then there's other nights where they are running traffic because they have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Ooh, did you hear that?
Dun, dun.
Ironic. You guys can't hear it, but the sirens came on in the background.
I'll add a siren effect. I'm just kidding. I don't know how to do that.
We should invite a cop to our show. No?
Do you know any cops that would want to be on our show?
You would, probably.
I'm not a cop. Oh, I would know. I would know cops.
Yeah. You said, me?
I'm like, please, no.
Awkward.
Anyways, yeah, so make sure y'all tune in next week because the crime is pretty crazy, I think. Make sure you follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
TikTok?
Oh, yeah, TikTok.
TikTok?
We have a TikTok. We're getting pretty famous, not gonna lie.
She's crazy.
We almost had 2,000 views.
Yeah, with like 4 hearts. Oh, wait, I have one last fact before we go.
Okay.
Just throwing it out there. Last one they give you a little chef's kiss with. Did you know that Oklahoma is like the prison inmate, like, capital of the world? So, like, for every 1,000 and it's like 1,000 and something. It's no more than like 1,100, but like 1,000 inmates per 100,000 people.
So
1,000 inmates, like
1%.
1,000 people are arrested per 100,000. I'm not good with math. I don't know. Yeah, that sounds good.
That sounds like a lot.
And then, dude, she's dying right now.
My eyes are watering.
And then, just to compare it though, so it didn't really help me out because it just said compared to Germany. So I highly doubt this is the whole.
Compared to Germany?
Yeah, I don't get
Oklahoma to Germany?
Listen, that's what it said, okay? Unless there's a freaking state in the United States that I don't know about named Germany, I think they're talking about the country. And with that being said, I'm sure they're talking about a city in Germany.
That's such an odd comparison.
Dude, I literally, not only did I read it, I reread it 3 times because I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But just so you could get compared to just a city in Germany, I'm going to assume it's a city.
Okay.
There's only 78 inmates per 100,000.
Don't move to Oklahoma.
They don't play. Ain't no love in Oklahoma. Okay. That's it.
No, that's pretty crazy. That
is insane. I'm gonna look up what it's compared to Texas.
No, to Florida.
Ooh, yeah, they always are getting arrested, and they have like some of the most heinous crimes.
But maybe it's not that they have the most inmates per people. Maybe it's that they have like just the weirdest crimes. Maybe it's that. You have a lot of stuff to do before next episode.
Okay, yeah.
And don't forget the paper. Anyways, make sure you check all of our stuff. If you see our TikTok on your For You page, like it and share it.
Please.
Because we're trying to spread our knowledge.
Yeah.
So, see you then. Bye.
Bye. Oh.